This video is about this guy. Maybe you're an experienced painter and you've been using the palette knife for years. Or maybe you're brand new and didn't even know this thing was called a palette knife. Either way, in this video I'm going to show you an efficient and effective way to use this guy to mix up your paint. A good palette knife technique does a few things. It makes good use of the space on your palette, so you can put a lot of mixes on there. It helps keep your palette organized. It combines paint together efficiently, so you can spend more time painting and less time mixing. And it keeps your arm and hand from straining too much. Let me start with a valid question though. Why use a palette knife for mixing at all? Why not just mix with a brush? The answer is it's hard to mix enough with a brush. You just have this little brush surface. It's not really designed to be a scooper and a mixer. It's made for smaller work. Brush mixing is also messy work. It's easier to wipe off a palette knife. And if you don't clean your brush in between different mixes, you're going to contaminate your colors and they won't look as pure. So to start off, let's talk about the way most people hold their palette knives. By instinct, most people spread the paint around with the back side of the palette knife. The downside to this technique, though, is it takes up a good bit of space. You're spreading around, and so your mixing area has to be much wider than the width of this palette knife. I've learned from the painter Sarah Sedgwick that it's more effective to turn that palette knife around. No, not like that. No. There you go. Point the palette knife down. Instead of up, point it down. So here's the technique. You scoop up the paint with the side of the palette knife, like this, just like you normally might, but then you smush the paint down into the mixture, like that, and like that. Then you pick it up and smush. Pick it up and smush. And you see, you can just wedge down on this thing, scoop it up. You can do this in a very small space. It's more efficient because you're kind of 3D mixing. Rather than just sliding everything around on your palette, you're dropping down into the paint, like a pro wrestler dive bombing onto his opponent from the corner of the ring. What I'm trying to say is pushing down into the paint to mix is just a lot easier. See how little space I need too? I can mix a lot of paint into a little space. So this might feel really weird and unnatural at first, but I think in a very brief amount of time, you can get the hang of this and see what I mean. Scoop and smush, scoop and smush. You can make much quicker and more efficient work of your mixing by smushing down like that. So here are some other tidbits of advice. I like to brace my palette knife with my pointer finger while I mix. So I'm not pushing down from quite as far away from the tip. This means I don't have to use quite as much strength when I do my mixing, which means less arm and wrist pain. Tidbit number 2, don't be too skimpy on your paint. Otherwise, you may have to go back and remix later. Matching that color exactly right a second time is a real pain, especially when you want to get on with your painting. It's also not a good look to try to stretch not enough paint onto too much canvas. thinly painted areas just don't look as good as a rule. So do yourself a favor and mix more of the color than you need. Keep some paper towels or rags handy to get your palette knife totally clean before doing your next mix. This will keep your mixtures nice and pure. And get into a habit of wiping the palette knife before you go on with your painting. I'm prone to get pretty excited and leave the paint on there till it dries up right there on the knife. Here's another interesting one. You don't have to completely mix the paint in if you don't want to. I personally like to leave the mixture slightly unmixed and apply that paint onto the canvas. I feel like slightly undermixed paint gives a bit of a visual mixing effect. It makes the paint colors vibrate a bit. Kind of like if you look at a little dab of yellow and blue from a distance, it would look green, but it would have a kind of shimmer to it. Another tip, get into the practice of using as small a space as possible to make your mix. If you get used to making small motions to scoop up and mix your paint, you'll naturally be able to fit more mixtures onto one palette. And of course, you can also do paintings entirely with your palette knife, no brush needed. Let me know if you'd like a video on that subject. Hope this video was informative and entertaining. Go ahead, give it a try. Flip that palette knife upside down. Thanks for watching. Peace.